When it comes to representation, how important is equal presence of women in decision-making bodies on its own and looking at it from a gender perspective? Please, Mr. Rocca.
It's something extremely important. I think when we talk about to work with the communities, to read the needs of the communities, to be able to engage with the communities, then when it comes to the bodies that should implement these abilities, and you have this lack of representation, so that means that you have a very strong lack in sensibilities, in different approaches, in different way to read the needs and to interact with the communities. So it's the real nature of the Red Cross, Red Crescent family, the Red Cross, Red Crescent movement that urge us to do something to fix this gap.
In addition, I would say, because of course I agree with that perspective, but also it's well understood that mixed groups that are mixed, gender balanced, different people take better decisions because they have more perspectives. So it has to do with, basically it's good business, I think, to have a strong balance representation at the top level and at all levels. But for the time being, I think we are seeing most progress at the lower level and not enough progress at the higher level.
The more the society is represented, the more you are able to read and detect the dynamics and the needs.
But what is it that really prevents us from reaching a more balanced situation in management and governance? What are the main obstacles?
I think, to be very frank, there is it's not a problem within the organization itself. It's a problem of the society. In many places, in too many places, we pay a price to the legacy of the historical mode and the way the people live, the tradition, cultures, so in which women have no spaces. And this is something that we must remember when we work for dignity of the people. This is something that we have to support the national society also in dealing, because they could lead by example in their own civil societies. This is a movement that born on the will of the women of Castiglione delle Stiviere. So and, there are a lot of jokes and stories about who inspires who. If Dunan was inspired by them, or as he said, with a bit ego, that they were inspired by him in saying tutti fratelli and taking care of everyone. Too often we are focused only on the administrative side of our life. Are you in arrears with your payment to the federation? Are you do you fit with the financial criteria? Let's work on the gender parity, let's work on the youth engagement. These are aspects that must become mandatory to be a well-functioning national society.
I think for us, we need to work both respecting the environment, but also encouraging and driving and setting a standard for our own organization. And in the way we do that is, as often when it comes to change, the leadership needs to take the lead. If the president says we have to do this, maybe not everyone agree, but they will be less likely to tell you than if it comes from the side or in the inside. So we need to drive from the top. We need to work with, because it requires also a lot of good human resources practices. It's also to be blind to the gender when it comes to recruitment and help. There are good sort of instruments to do that. And the third aspect we need to work on is the motivation of women to step forward. Is to really motivate, to encourage, to get support for them, because we cannot vote for them, but we can equip them with the skills, the aspiration and the ambition to do that.
But how can you get everyone to sort of own the agenda? How to persuade people? I imagine that some people might feel threatened when we raise this issue of gender balance.
Look, we are a volunteers-based organization, so in principle, no one should feel threatened. But then we are human beings with all the strengths, but also the weaknesses point of all the human beings. So it could be that someone feel in this way. If you visit some national society, there are a lot of women working, but because these were the role of the women. So it's not because there is a respect of the role, of the gender parity, of the gender equity, but because it's part of an old legacy. So there is a trick also in this, in which we must pay attention about how the society is respecting not the Red Cross, but the role of the women in the society. Because let's say the women, the wife or the daughters of the most prominent families are representing the Red Cross, they are doing volunteerism for the poorest of the country, etc., etc. This is something now that we are not blind anymore. Everything is under our eyes. Change is forcing us finally, and lucky us, to move forward. And I think we have to use this momentum.
I think it's a very good perspective, because in any way we need to change as an organization.
Of course.
And so we can actually change many things and make this part of also shifting the image of the organization, where we actually have women leaders also at the highest level that are not there because of legacy or tradition, but actually carried by their own aspirations and their own leadership abilities. So I don't know if you remember this young woman who said in the 2017 General Assembly, she said, "This is the most encouraging moment in my life as a Red Cross volunteer. You have no idea how much this means for me to see this resolution passed," she said. So she felt maybe for the first time that space was opening up in a serious way with the political commitment of the entire Federation leadership.
But now we will challenge this point, the political commitment of the General Assembly. In the next one, we are going to discuss the constitutional changes, because after the resolution we are working hard to present some amendments in the next General Assembly. So I hope that we will
they will stand up to the test.
The same spirit that we had. Everyone was clapping. Then now it's time to
show
verify.
the cards.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
We are talking about being a mirror of society, or a mirror of the world. Could you measure all the national societies from the same criteria, or is it more linked to culture, traditions, and so on? What do you think about that?
I mean, we have to acknowledge, yes, we are very traditional and a bit old-fashioned.
Exactly.
So it's a great honor in many countries to be in the Red Cross top level. So there is an issue of power and prestige more than contents, which might feel a little bit difficult to give up. So you move, and that's why if these particular leaders themselves decide to take the lead on giving a better image of the society, if you can reach them and motivate them to be part of this, exercise a bit of peer pressure. So it's not come, but you look at what the others are doing, and then you say, oh, maybe I have to follow as well. So I think that's one way you overcome the fact that, but also accept we are at very different levels. But interestingly now, in the Red Cross, but actually also in the business life, they have measured the same thing, that the region where we are moving most fast now at seeing women stepping forward and saying, okay, here's an opportunity for us, one, to support each other as women, but also to work for change, is the Americas.
Yeah. Yes, the conference is another issue, but I'm optimistic also for the conference, not only for the General Assembly. I think that even in the conference there is a good commitment coming from the colleagues of the IFRC, the members of the Standing Commission. So we are ready for the change. And that we will see the result.
Yes.
But,
No, well, it's a test now.
Exactly. A few months and we will know the truth.
Yeah.